Before anybody asks, this is actually my hair. Like, my roots are actually coming out. And it's not a wig, although it looks really good. It's a fuck-ass bob. But, yes, I'm a ginger. A little update. I don't have black hair anymore. And I was actually so scared to get my hair dyed, but I did it. I love my ginger hair. Hi everyone, so today I made this video and it's about why nice girls never win. And so basically in this video I'm going to be talking about topics that either describe the characteristics of being a nice girl and also tying in my experiences with being a people pleaser slash nice girl. Maybe some ways and solutions of how to really outgrow that and transform yourself into a person who is a kind person. And also I'm going to be talking about the difference between kind person and a nice person. I really hope you guys enjoy this video, and I know it's been a while. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be talking about is basically learning the difference between being a nice person and being a kind person. So basically, a nice person in my eyes is someone who is a yes ma'am person, a yes sir, and always says yes. They don't know how to say no. They want to be liked by everyone and they don't know it, or they might. They don't have a backbone and they have no boundaries. When you think of someone that's a kind person, they clearly have boundaries. They are okay with being looked at differently, or they are okay with also saying no. They can say no, and they have a spine when it comes to things. And both of them, they're kind people, they're nice people, but nice people want to be liked by anyone. And kind people, they don't care if they're liked by other people or not, and they have boundaries. I remember there was a point in my life where I genuinely was a people pleaser and everyone would always describe me as nice. And I was like, oh, well, that's a good thing. I mean, obviously, no one wants to be described as something in a negative way. But then it got to the point where I realized that I didn't really like being called nice, because it's everything that was used to describe me and my personality at one point in my life. As the years passed by, I learned that I didn't want to be a nice person, and that didn't mean that I wanted to be mean, but I wanted to be a person that has boundaries and can say no. And I realized that you can be kind but also put yourself first. I definitely was a girl that was a people pleaser, and I really didn't know how to say no to people. And I remember there was a situation where a friend had pulled me to the side and he talked to me about always using the word sure. And he asked, like, Janet, if you don't want to do something, just say no. You always say sure. Like, I can never tell if you really want to do something. You always say sure. Yeah, I'll do that. Sure. And honestly, I remember just going through a phase where I was cutting everyone off because they really weren't my friends. And I also was cutting words out of my vocabulary, which is something I will talk about in this video, about words you shouldn't say. And I feel like for me personally, sure is a word that I don't use. It's either a yes or a no. You want to make it clear, not only to other people, but to yourself, what you want to do. You always want to put yourself first and want to do what you want to do, because if you're doing something for other people, you're gonna resent them at one point, and then you're just gonna have like this feeling of anger, and in fact it's probably gonna go to yourself because you don't know how to speak up for yourself and advocate for yourself and use the right words to vocalize what you want and your needs. That's why eliminating words out of your vocabulary helps a lot. So learn to say no. The right friends will respect that and they won't push your boundaries. In the beginning, when I started to vocalize my boundaries and things that I wanted to do and not do, I was genuinely so shocked at situations where I was really just advocating so strongly and confidently, to the point where I was just like, wow, like, I'm actually like, who is this? Like, this is me? I sound so confident. Sometimes you really have to fake it in order to make it. As you go through this transformation from becoming a people pleaser to putting yourself first, you will realize it's a little difficult to stand on your ground with your answers or your decisions, and that's completely fine. And I'm saying this from experience, and I sometimes still struggle with this, but give yourself compassion, because you have been on this earth for I don't know how many years, maybe 20 years, 17 years, and that's all you've known. That's everything that you've known, and we don't know why, but we know that somehow or in some way you were taught in order to be on, like, to survive, you had to like maybe people please, or you, in order to be liked in society or to have friends and not feel ostracized, this is how you learned to be. So as you transform out of this people-pleasing person, you're gonna want to kind of regress or step back and maybe second guess your decisions or the actions you take or the words you say, and that's completely normal. You've been conditioned to be this way for many, many years on this earth, so give yourself grace and compassion, but also stick with it, because at first it might feel weird to question. It'll get easier because the more it feels so foreign at the beginning to listen to yourself and your needs and advocating for yourself and putting yourself first. I remember at the beginning it felt so uncomfortable and just weird, but if you give yourself time, always consistently put yourself first, it will be so rewarding, because you generally don't want to be on this earth always putting other people first. Like, you're here for you and you deserve to put yourself first every single second on this earth, and advocate for your needs and for what you want. Yeah, so it might feel foreign, but yes, you'll generally get to the point where you just say no and you don't second guess yourself. It's really just learning to listen to your intuition. And as a person who was a people pleaser, I generally don't think I had an intuition or a sense of intuition, or even knew what that was, because I really suppressed that so much. But as you like listen to yourself, your needs, what you want, not what other people want, you'll learn to have a stronger intuition, and just trust yourself too. And okay, so this is the part where we go into the vocabulary and we talk about the word sorry. And I am genuinely guilty of this. I would always say sorry a lot growing up. Like, literally, I could be walking and this person bumps into me and it's their fault and I say sorry. Remove that out of your vocabulary. There's an issue with over apologizing, because you shouldn't have to always say sorry for just existing, for simply existing. Learn to take up space and say sorry less. And this might be easier said than done. One thing that helped me a lot was to replace the word sorry with my bad, or learn to say excuse me or say excuse you. Like, that's something I've done, because some people can be very rude. And I'm just like, excuse you, like, it's not my fault. I'm right now talking to women, because as women, I feel like that we're taught or raised to be very submissive and look down and always say sorry. Like, I genuinely, from my experience of being here 24 years on this earth, it's always women that I've seen majorly that have always over apologized through like small interactions. And when you do say I'm sorry a lot, it takes the significance out of apologizing, because you genuinely want to reserve that for when you are sorry and you've done something that you feel sorry for. It's not just something that you just throw around just to everyone. Lack of understanding / character development and having no sense of identity. The nice girl generally doesn't have that, and become everyone that you're around. And I know exactly what this means, because I know I was that at one point in my life, because I didn't know what I liked, what I didn't like. I didn't take the time to actually get to know myself and be my own friend, because I was too busy wanting to be liked by everybody. The nice person will always finish last whenever you refuse to speak up for yourself. You have to learn to advocate for yourself, and issues with friends. You have to learn to be able to confront these things with friends. And I know confrontation can be very, very uncomfortable, but it's very, very rewarding, because you learn not only a lot about yourself but also about that other person that you're having this conversation with. Because maybe you might have grown up to, like, I know for me, whenever I had these conversations in my household and confronted other family members, they would be very quick to shut me down. Or sometimes, like, I've had these experiences with friends that would gaslight me or make me second guess like what I was advocating for and my own needs. At that time, I didn't really know like that they weren't really good friends, but from better experiences and from cutting those people off and making room for people who are actually deserving to be in my life, I've learned that when you confront someone, it says a lot about them and how they care about you and how they see you as a friend. Because if that person is very quick to shut you down, they're not your friend. If that person is there, like listening to you, looking at you, being there with you, empathizing with you, and owning up to like the mistakes that they've made or actions that they made, they are a good friend. And if you are both able to talk about that situation, and yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's necessary for your friendship to grow and to create more intimacy within your friendship, because friendships aren't just rainbows and sunshines. We have seasons where maybe we might bump heads with friendships, but it's really about having those conversations that may be uncomfortable in order to move forward, and so things don't repeat. And I feel that whenever I have these confrontational conversations with friends, it's very important to talk about what it's going to look like moving forward. So say if I had issues with friends, I would mention what I had the issues with, how they made me feel, how I want it to look forward so this doesn't repeat again. There may be a time where you don't like, or maybe even before you're learning to be comfortable with having these conversations, you might feel like angry at this person. Because I know this was me at one point. I would be just mad at other people because they didn't know how I felt or understand how I felt. But it's like you can't expect other people out of you because they're not going to know. They have no idea what's going on in your head. You shouldn't be very passive aggressive to your friends. You should learn how to communicate how you feel and vocalize your needs, because you can't be mad at someone because of their actions when you haven't talked to them about it. This is something that my friend had told me, and I was like, you know what, she's absolutely right, because you can't, like, they can't just guess around with you, and that's very mentally taxing. To this other friend is mad at me or all these things, because no, like, you should learn to not jump to conclusions and an assumption that, oh my god, this friend is mad at me because they're behaving in this way. You are not at fault for anything you've done until it is brought up to your attention. Otherwise, continue to do what you're doing, because it is the other person's responsibility to talk to you about what you did or your actions, and how it's affected them. Wanting to fix everything. And so with this, it kind of looks like you taking on everyone's problems and wanting to fix every single issue that a friend might have. And even going out of your way to asking them if they want you to do this, X, Y, and Z. And I'm not saying you should never do that, because obviously people should be caring for their friends' issues and concerns that they have, but you have to realize that you cannot be everyone's superhero, and you cannot fix everyone's issues, and you should not want to do that. It burns you out and you put yourself completely last. And I think the best balance, or a good balance to have, is to know if you are in a good spot to help that friend out, because sometimes you might find yourself to be very drained and need to put yourself first, and you could somewhat help a friend out with some distance, but you don't need to do everything for them. Because when you're always asking other people if they want you to do X, Y, and Z, they're not going to learn how to ask you for help or reach out to you for help. But it's not your responsibility to fix everyone's problems. You can never and will never and should never save a person with a victim mindset, and that will drown you. A person with a victim mindset is the worst combination to have with a person that is a people pleaser, because that person is literally a vampire, energy vampire, and they will manipulate you, gaslight you, and make you feel like shit, and make everything about them, and make sure that all their needs are getting met. Like, literally, a person with a victim mindset does not know how to take accountability of their own actions. And the need to fixing everyone's problem is you running away from yourself. And someone may be venting, learn to wait until they ask for your help and that is a good balance. But yeah, for me, I'm not sure if other people can relate to this, but I know that it was always a need or like a want to fix everyone's problems, and that was like another sign of me running away from my own problems or from my own needs, because I had always learned and conditioned myself to want to fix everyone's problems. Ask yourself if your friends or the people around you, are they adding on to you or your life, or are they taking away? Or is it like a friendship that you try to talk to them about how you're feeling emotionally, but they're not able to meet you where you're at? And one of my favorite quotes is that people can only meet you as deep as they have met themselves, because some people aren't in touch with their emotions or themselves, so they obviously aren't able to connect with you as deep as you are connecting with yourself. So are they able to provide a space for authenticity and support and respect you and also love you? Ask yourself if those friends are adding those things to your life, or are they taking away? Are they literally draining you? Or do you ever feel like after hanging out with someone you feel very, very drained? Those are really good signs to think about whenever it comes to friendships and evaluating your friendships. A nice girl doesn't know what she wants, so she's afraid to make mistakes. The way you learn is from making mistakes. Because I've made a lot. And you have to learn that you cannot miss what's meant for you. What's meant for you will be for you. There's literally no amount of evil eye that will ever take what is meant for you, and you have to trust that. What you want to avoid is you thinking or saying, I could never be that, or I could never look like her, or I could never be that energy. Who's to say you can't? Like, literally there's people out there with half as confidence or like half of their personality that are just delusional as fuck. And okay, yeah, so the nice girl doesn't know what she wants. She lacks belief, and she knows what she wants but fails to take action. You have to choose your hard. What's hard for you? Is it hard to stay in the same place, in the same routines, in the same miserable spot that you find yourself? Or choose your heart of taking action, moving forward, making decisions that are hard? It's gonna be hard regardless. So you're gonna wanna choose a heart that's making you grow as a person and bringing the best situations for yourself, because you as an individual deserve the best you can from this experience on earth. So choose your heart wisely. Some words that you should take out of your vocabulary should be I can't. Just saying that right now, it just reminds me back of like whenever I would do different hobbies and think like, oh, I can't do that. Like, I remember literally I had no experience with playing soccer my senior year of high school, and I literally just tried it. And I remember always thinking like, oh my god, the soccer girls are so cool. Like, I literally loved soccer girls so much and thought they were like the coolest girls or sport girls ever. And I was like, oh, I could never do that. Like, I don't even know how to play soccer. And literally I did that. Like, I genuinely didn't let my thoughts stop me from like joining the team and playing soccer. And was I bad at it? Yes. Did I kick the ball badly? Yes. But I had fun and I learned a lot. I made friends through that. I had really great memories. Take the word I can't out of your vocabulary. Maybe a substitute for I can't is, oh, I know exactly one. So I remember something that really helped me a lot. Say if you're bad at something that you're starting, or you're like completely just horrible, like your skills are not there, the best thing you could tell yourself is, well, I can only get better from here. Like, you literally can only grow from wherever you're at. You just have to start in order to be great. I don't know after explaining something. So I'm definitely guilty of this till this day. Sometimes I say something that I know for a fact I know, but then I say, I don't know. Say, like, I'm going on a rant and then I just second guess. Like, I feel like I don't know is a way of second guessing yourself and saying like, well, I don't know. Say like, I'm talking about this restaurant that like we're all debating on where to go, and I say, well, oh, like this place has like really good quesadillas and like tacos and like really good drinks, but I don't know, does anybody like want that? Like, I don't know if that's a vibe. You don't want to say that. You want to just end where you're at. You don't have to say, well, I don't know, after a statement of like that you made that you clearly know, but you say, I don't know. Oh, another one for this one is, does that make sense? Yeah, I'm still to this day kind of like a little guilty of this. Like whenever I'm trying to, I see myself saying this whenever I'm like asking friends or like talking to friends about certain things, or confronting friends, or trying to make a point, my point across, and I say, does that make sense? But obviously it does. You clearly use very clear words in order to explain yourself. It's gonna make sense. Another phrase could be, that could never be me. That's never me. Or like just literally downplaying yourself as an individual. Don't do that. And it might be hard to like take these phrases or vocabulary out of your language, but you have to do it because words are really powerful, and you never know, like whoever you're around with, they will hear you and how you talk about yourself. And if your friends see how you talk about yourself, like who's to say that they're also not gonna like respect you or hold you to a high standard? You should always hold yourself to a very high standard, and words are just important. And obviously we've already talked about the I'm sorry. So some of the phrases that you could replace with, that could never be me, or I wish that could be me, but like that'll never happen. You just don't say that. So maybe say like, oh, like she looks so beautiful. You know what, I think I might try something like that. What other people think about you, if you find that to weigh more than what you think about yourself as an individual, do you put a lot of more emphasis on like what other people say about you, how they perceive you? You care so much about other people's opinions. And I'm not saying, like, we're humans, we are supposed to care about what other people think about us, but to an extent. You should not care so much more or have so much weight on other people's opinions. Yours should matter the most. People are always gonna have opinions, whether they're good or bad, whether you're doing great or bad. People are always gonna be saying something about you. In my life, I've been a person that has been a people pleaser, and people would say a lot of nice things because, you know, I would always do things for them. But then, you know, like people would always also say bad things about me, or like make fun of me, and or like make little comments that like really are degrading and like condescending. And you know, that was me as a people pleaser. And then later on in my life, like in college, when I was just really just being or learning to be authentically me and tap into my own energy and personality, people were hating so much and just would have so much negative things to say. I remember thinking like, wow, like what did I do to offend them? But you have to realize that people really just like don't want to see confidence in a woman, or like other people, or like themselves, and so secure in themselves, and it's projection of themselves. And sometimes like some people say like this, like, oh, you know, you're doing something right whenever people are talking about you, because if they're not, then like what are you doing? So maybe think about that. That's the end of my video, and I hope you all have a great day and enjoyed my video. And please like and subscribe,